Hello and welcome to Game Theory. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, we're going to break down Victor Wembanyama's debut, a 15.4 rebound, 2 assists, 2 steal, 1 block, 5 turnover game against the Dallas Mavericks in San Antonio. A really interesting game for a lot of different reasons. Because it was Victor Wembanyama's debut game, we were always going to break it down on this channel. But he struggled with fouls. He only ended up playing 23 minutes in this game. So that in and of itself is worth looking into. What is he doing wrong? What is he struggling with in terms of fouling? But also, we got an incredible 9-point explosion in the fourth quarter in this like little 3-minute spurt that showcases the upside of what Victor Wembanyama can be long term, in my opinion. So I'm really excited to dive into that. As always, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you want more of these, let me know who you would like to see me break down, maybe in the comments as well. But we're going to dive into the tape. We're going to talk about what Vic did well, what he struggled with, everything in between. So let's just go on ahead and dive into that now. Okay. So first clip here is 30 seconds into the game. It's the Spurs' first defensive possession, if I remember correctly. And Vic is over here in the corner. He is guarding Derrick Jones. This is Derrick Jones. Derrick Jones is a late signing this offseason by the Dallas Mavericks. It's a great story that Derrick Jones has been able to carve out an NBA career after kind of a strange career at UNLV, always an incredible athlete going back to high school, but never really put it all together in terms of the skill set. But got to the NBA, got to Miami. He's a really, really fun story that developed and became a player over the course of his career. But I thought it was a crazy decision to start Derrick Jones tonight, because what putting Derrick Jones on the court does whenever you're playing a team with Victor Wembanyama on it is it allows the Spurs to put Wembanyama on him and then use him as a roaming help defender. And that happened throughout the course of this game. Eventually, Dallas adjusted, as we'll talk about as we go through these clips. But the thing that I want you to look at here is Kyrie eventually is going to come off of this really it's almost like a Chicago wrap pin kind of play where Kyrie's going to come set a screen, Maxi's going to come set a screen, and then the man in the corner here is going to come in between these two and then set a screen for Kyrie, who is then going to come up and get the ball here. I love this set to run the game. I think it's a really, really, really sharp, interesting way to get Kyrie a touch early, maybe in an advantageous matchup that you would like to see. So let's watch it go through. You're going to see Kyrie kind of wrap around here, and he ends up getting switched onto Zach Collins. That's the matchup that the Dallas Mavericks wanted, right? But you can already kind of see here that Vic is kind of sagging in already, and he's kind of waiting for Kyrie to make his move on Zach. So he's already just about damn near at the paint here, and he's ready to attack this by contesting it and closing out on Kyrie as soon as Kyrie goes up, and he ends up getting this blocked shot. Players around the NBA are eventually going to have to adjust to just the type of length that Victor possesses. And I feel like we aren't quite there yet. It's kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Ichiro Suzuki, when he first got to the major leagues in like 2001, there was this play in April where Terrence Long, who was like the Oakland A's leadoff hitter, he tried to stretch from first to third after a single to right field, and Ichiro just gunned him down by like probably 2 steps, right? And from that point forward, it felt like nobody ever ran on Ichiro again. I wonder what that moment will be for Vic, where people start to recognize, okay, I can't really go up and pull up this close to Vic or this far when he's this far away. Something like that is going to happen at some point. We're still obviously not there yet because he's just played his first regular season game, but something eventually will happen that makes people recognize how quick his closing speed is on these closeouts to be able to block jump shots. Eventually that will come. So this one here, 8:30 in the first quarter. We're going to see Devin Vassell come up off of this little dribble handoff here into a double screen at the top of the key. And this is going to be Vic's first bucket in the NBA. Just a beautiful little pick and pop to get him free. So we'll just draw this up real quick. So Vassell going to come up off of this dribble handoff. Sohan basically going to set a screen. Vic's going to set a screen there. Zach Collins going to come down, set a screen here. Vassell's going to go off of these screens, try and get some paint pressure. Collins going to roll that way. And then Vic going to pop out to the 3-point line here. Just a really, really smart way to get Vic an open look. You basically, to me, have to switch this. But if you switch this, then you're in a situation where Vic is on Kyrie Irving at that point, and that's not advantageous anyway, because Vic can shoot over the top. So you can't actually switch this unless it's a wing that is guarding Devin Vassell, somebody with a little bit more height than Kyrie. So this is just a really tough guard. His release point is so high. It's going to be really difficult for teams to deal with anything involving like a double screen pick and pop where Zach Collins is setting the first screen. Zach Collins, also a capable shooter. I think he shot like 40% on 4 threes a game over the course of the last 25 games for the Spurs last year. Like you can just imagine here a play that is the inverse of this, where Vic is just the one that's going to roll and Collins is going to pop here for 3. Most of the time it is the second screener that is going to pop, but you could just as easily have Vic be the first screener if you want to do that and have Collins be the second screener. There are a lot of different ways that you can make Collins and Wembanyama double screens, drag screens in transition, double drags, etc. really, really work and be really difficult for defenses to stop. And this is one of those cases, I think. So I just wanted to put it on here, A, because it's his first bucket, but B, because it's the kind of set that I can see defenses really struggling with throughout the course of the entire season. This next clip here, 7:30 in the first quarter. And this is one where we just see Victor causing all sorts of havoc defensively everywhere, right? So, he's got the arms waving. My wife Laura was in here watching this possession with me, just laughing at how long he is and just how much length he possesses to be able to get into those passing lanes and make things difficult for everybody. But what you're going to see here is I love that he comes in. He's going to help off the same side again because, as I mentioned earlier, Derek Jones is in the game. No reason to be attached to Derek Jones there. All due respect to Derek Jones, a story that, again, I am a big fan of. There's just no reason to be all that attached to him. He comes in, he helps. The kick out goes to Jones. That's a shot the Spurs want. They want Derek Jones to take that shot. And now you're just going to see Vic come in and he's going to double. And this is a spot where in my personal opinion, you want a double because that is Luka Doncic down there. And Luka is one of the most lethal post players in the NBA. Now, what you're going to see after the offensive rebound is that the Spurs have to try and pick up on guys, right? They have to find a matchup again. So Collins is going to pick up. Is Collins going to pick up Maxey? No, I think that's wrong. Let's go through this a little bit more. There's going to be a back cut there, which leads to how they're eventually going to pick this up. So Collins picks up here. He communicates to say, I think that there's somebody back there to Sohan and Wemby. I believe that's Keldon Johnson there, Devin Vassell here. So that means that Wembanyama is going to be responsible for Tim Hardaway Jr., who is an elite shooter and somebody that you can't leave open. So Vic is going to keep bothering him, keep bothering him. And I love the fact that Vic keeps bothering, but right here, in my opinion, is where you need to have, if you want to double these Luka posts, Zach Collins needs to recognize that he's now the player on Derek Jones, and Wemby needs to get back out to Tim Hardaway. You need to be able to cover up on the shooters. And this is really hard. It's Victor Wembanyama's first game. It's a scramble situation after an offensive rebound. These things are really, really difficult to manage. I wouldn't expect the Spurs to be perfect here by any stretch of the imagination. But what the result is that Vic then goes back for the double again. And this is just going to leave Tim Hardaway here wide open from three. And Tim Hardaway is way too good. He's way too professional of a shooter. It's way too long of a closeout for Devin Vassell to be able to cover that ground. And what I like here as well is that you're going to see, and this is just general spacing principles, you're going to see Tim Hardaway leak up to the wing here. And as Hardaway leaks up to the wing, you're going to see Kleba actually back up at first and then just continue to kind of drift to the left a little bit, because he can see that Vic is just going to stay doubled. And it's going to lead to a wide open three for Tim Hardaway here after Vic goes back for the double. Yeah, too easy. But, that's fine. You'd rather Vic be over aggressive in those situations than under aggressive. I do think that there's going to be a happy medium, as we'll discuss throughout this video, that he needs to be able to hit. Overall, though, was probably a little too over aggressive on the double there, and there probably wasn't quite enough communication on that backside there. Okay, next up, 2 minutes left in the first. You're going to see Vic eventually get into a nice little wing three here. So what are we looking at? We're looking at Malachi Branham coming over on a sort of Iverson-y style cut, and then Charles Bassey coming up here. He's going to get the ball. They're going to take a dribble handoff. And then Trey Jones here is going to do a dribble handoff with Vic. Vic is going to come here and shoot this three ball, being guarded by Derek Lively. That's a good matchup for Vic. Lively was fantastic in this game, was unbelievable. But if he can get a legitimate center on him, and this will happen again later in this video, that's going to be a shot that Vic is going to be more than happy to take. So just a beautiful, quick little dribble handoff three. Realistically, I think the moment that Lively decides to go under this screen as opposed to trying to fight over the top of it, honestly, I think it's probably the right call from Lively, but I think that's the point where Vic decides I'm going to go up and I'm going to shoot it. No mistakes there. Don't really mind anything that happened there. Vic's just a stud and is going to be able to get those. So here you're going to see Vic in transition. This is actually going to be Vic's second foul here. And I just wanted to put this on here to point out, A, the stumble, but B, in transition, I think Vic is going to have to be really careful in these situations, because guys like Josh Green are A, elite athletes, and B, they can really get leverage on Vic. Here, he is just his hips are so much lower here than what Vic's are. And that's a reality of what Victor's situation is, being 7'4", having all of these long limbs. It's certainly a gift 90% of the time. But in these situations, I think that athletes, wings, guards are going to be able to out leverage Vic. In that second that Vic realizes he doesn't have the angle, I think he's going to have to give up on the play. Otherwise, you're going to see fouls. This is just kind of a silly foul at the end of the day. And this is experience. He'll figure it out as he grows, as he matures. It's not that big of a deal. But it is something that resulted in his second foul. And he ended up having to sit out. It was just kind of a clumsy play. So here, 7 minutes left. Vic is back. I think he came back around the 8:30 mark of the second quarter. So already what I want you to see here is that there's a lot more spacing on the court from Dallas's perspective. We have Grant Williams, who is a 40% three-point shooter. We have Josh Green, who is a good three-point shooter at the very least, and I believe that's Kyrie there. Obviously, a terrific three-point shooter, one of the best shooters in league history. And now we have Lively, the non-shooter, but Lively is an elite gravitational force going toward the basket as a 7'1" freak show athlete. So what Dallas is going to run here is a sweet little Spain pick and roll action. And I just kind of wanted to put this on here. I know that Dallas made this, and we'll draw it up here in a second. Vic is guarding Grant Williams. I know Dallas made this, but I think Vic's ability to process what was happening here was actually quite strong. And I think that he muddied the waters just that little bit. And the result was that instead of a Derek Lively dunk or an open Grant Williams three, it was a mid-range shot for Luka Doncic. And while Luka is certainly capable of making them as he did in this situation, that's the shot that you want here. So Vic is guarding Grant Williams. What Dallas is going to do here, they're going to have Lively set this little down screen for Grant. Grant's going to come up, set a screen for Luka. It's actually going to be higher than this. It's going to be basically right here. And then Lively is going to turn around and try to screen the big defender who is in drop, who is Charles Bassey right here. Vic has to try and get around this screen, which I think he does super well. And then the Spurs have to communicate this. And it seems very clear that their principles are that they want the second drop defender to be the drop defender in this circumstance. I think they do it really well, and I think they communicate through it. Grant, after his screen, is essentially going to slip to the wing here to try and create some extra space for Luka and try and create some extra space for Derek Lively diving to the rim. But I really like the way that Victor processes all of this. This is not the easiest thing for a rookie to see. So because what makes this a little bit difficult for rookies a lot of the time is that typically a play like this would result in Victor having to come over and be in drop. Victor sees here that Lively is setting this second screen to complete the Spain action. Charles Bassey is here. He's in position. He does a good job reading it. And what I want you to notice here particularly is I think Vic peels off quickly, recognizes that Grant Williams is not really in shooting position. He's too far from the rim. And he gets just that little touch on Derek Lively trying to roll to the rim. And because of that, I think it clouds the vision and kind of muddies the waters a little bit for Luka so that he can't throw this lob immediately. Bassey does a good job recovering. Jeremy Sohan does a good job getting over the top of the screen, I think, making sure, again, using his very long arm. Sohan, another guy with incredible length. He blocks off the vision as well. Victor here playing in both areas, making it so that it's a difficult pass out to Grant Williams. If Luka wants to try to make that pass there, that's going right through Vic, and that's going to end up in a turnover. So look, sometimes Luka, sometimes great NBA players, they're just going to beat you, right? And you just have to live with that. This is just really solid. This is really good. It's the kind of processing that I think a lot of rookies generally struggle with defensively, and that Victor is already there with, which is a really good sign for continued improvement from the Spurs defensively this year. The Spurs in general in this game, I know they gave up 126, but the starters were quite good if you look at the advanced numbers. Keldon Johnson, Victor Wembanyama, Zach Collins, Devin Vassell, all four of those guys ended up with a defensive rating somewhere between 108 and 111. That's a really, really good number against a team like Dallas, who's probably going to be up in the 118, 119 region this season. I thought that the minutes where Victor was on the court, they did a very, very good job defensively covering for what Dallas was presenting them. So next up here, 6.5, 6:40 left in the second. Just pop this one on here. Victor picks up Luka in transition. Luka is, when he's coming up the left side of the court, he's almost always going to try and get to this left wing step back three. If it's not his favorite shot, it's certainly up there, and it's certainly something he is extremely comfortable with. Just look at this is so hard. Luka's ability to decelerate is ridiculous. He creates that separation. Like, that's a pretty solid amount of space right here by the time he goes up for the shot. But again, Victor is going to close this space. And look at how high Luka is going to have to loft this shot to get it up over Vic. The shot is going to fall short, and it feels like the closeouts are making an impact from Wembanyama. I don't think you can deny that at this point. Next clip, their next possession down the court defensively, 6:16 on the clock. This is one where I think Vic just gets a little bit over aggressive again, and it's a result of Dallas having adjusted its lineups and no longer playing as much Derrick Jones. So again, same lineup that I mentioned earlier. Luka, guy that you have to stay attached to at all times, shooter. Grant Williams, guy that you have to stay attached to at all times, shooter. Josh Green, guy that you want to stay attached to, can certainly make an open spot three. And then Lively, elite level rim runner toward the basket. Because Wemby is not able to guard a non-shooter here because they have Charles Bassey on the court, I wouldn't want Bassey on any of these perimeter players. You really are in a position where Vic kind of has to trust that Bassey is going to be able to close this angle and cut off Kyrie. If he doesn't, you're screwed. But it's probably a contest from behind from Charles Bassey on a Kyrie layup is a better option than an open Grant Williams three. Again, great adjustment from Dallas here, making it harder for Wemby to peel off and be able to help in different ways. But something that Victor, again, is going to have to work on, the over aggressiveness in help situations. You want him to be aggressive. There's probably a happy medium, though. Next up, 5:40 in the second. Vic is going to bring the ball up the court. This is one that is very simple. It's not even a made shot. But I just wanted to call out, look at the way that Dallas defends this. Dallas is going to go under this screen with Grant Williams. And then Maxey and Kyrie are going to call out what is basically a pre-switch in case they want to hit Wembanyama on the roll. Kyrie is going to go down here, likely to guard him before switching on to Trey Jones. Josh Green will switch on to, I believe that might be Charles Bassey. And then Maxey is going to guard Vic here. But what makes this work is that Grant goes under the screen, bumps Victor here, makes it so that you can't really get all the way to the rim with ease off of that bump. But all of that is just gravity. That's Victor Wembanyama having an immense amount of gravity that he's presenting for his teammates. This is just a walk-in three from Malachi Branham that he misses. You would hope Malachi is going to make that. That's a wide open three. That's the kind of shot you want, even early in the shot clock. Next up here, 10 minutes left in the third. This is where Vic's kind of horror show quarter, is going to start, unfortunately. Again, Victor on Derek Jones. He's going to get this steal. And he's just going to try and make this almost like a home run pass to the cross wing. This is a very difficult pass to make through traffic. I love the vision. I like the idea of it in theory. Also, notice here on this play that Victor is basically going to stay attached. They're going like two men onto Derek Lively here, because Lively at this point had been playing well already, and they're leaving Derek Jones out here. Again, I don't totally know why Dallas started Derek Jones, but they did. The big thing I want to point out is not the turnover, but you can just see Vic's kind of reaction after. He looks a little bit disappointed by it. I think that kind of filtered through the next couple of plays, unfortunately. So you're at 9:20. This is like a minute later. He's going to just kind of elbow Grant Williams here. You can kind of see it there. Gets the elbow up into Grant's face. Unfortunately, that's kind of the reality of being that tall. You're probably going to end up on these post-ups. If you're trying to clear out with your arm, there is a chance that you're going to catch somebody in the face, and the league is very cognizant of those elbows now. Unfortunately, that's a foul. That is Vic's third foul, I believe. Next up, basically 1 minute later, again, Vic's going to come up and just set this atrocious screen. There's just not really another way to say it. Like you can see here, I mean, look at the contact point. Like his feet aren't really quite set yet. It's almost timed well, but you can just kind of see that it looks like he's kind of rushing things a little bit. Like he tries to sprint over to catch it. I think he realizes it was a mistake the moment he did it. That's 4 fouls. That's going to see Vic on the bench for quite a while, basically the end of the third quarter. So that's 8.5 minutes down the drain. Notice San Antonio up 3 when this happens. And then Vic comes back on the court. Dallas up 3 at this point. And then this one here, another foul. I just don't know what Vic is doing on this dig. He comes down, just very clearly hacks Luka on the arm. And again, story of his game was foul trouble, unfortunately, for a large portion of it. And you love the idea of him coming in to help. I don't think it was necessary in this case. Zach Collins is right here. He is going to be able to wall off and protect the rim. Also, if you look at what Dallas is doing on the backside, Dallas is setting this little screen here for Kyrie Irving to come through. He's going to wrap around and get a wide open 3 because Vic's head is turned. It's just not an ideal situation. Not a great play there. So this one here, this is the first play where Vic is back on the court. Maybe something like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and this is where Vic starts to get going. The rest of these are going to be offensive clips. I thought Vic played pretty well defensively despite the fouls, but this is where the offensive firepower started to kick in. Vic's going to go up, going to set this little screen, and Kyrie is going to be a little bit late on the tag. And as soon as Vassell sees that Kyrie is going to be a little bit late on the tag, throws it up. I love it. So you're going to see Sohan here toss the ball to Devin Vassell. Vic is going to come up. He is going to set this screen here for Devin. Devin's going to come around, Vic is going to roll. And this isn't the easiest action for Kyrie to guard because A, he's like 6'2", but B, he's starting this play up here on the wing. You're not always anticipating being the low man in these spots, especially here where Trey Jones has vacated the area. I think there is a chance that Kyrie is just now recognizing that he's going to end up being the low man here right now as he filters through to the corner. Again, this is an advantage of this is a really smart design here, I think, from San Antonio to get Kyrie as that low man coming across for Vic. You better believe that, in my opinion, Greg Popovich knew coming out of that timeout that Kyrie was going to be guarding Cedi Osman, and that if you can get Cedi to the corner here, Kyrie is going to be the defender here, and it's going to allow Vic to come up and set the screen and dive and be open for this lob here from Devin Vassell. Just really smart design. Really kind of simple, but smart. He gets the lob. Very nice play. Next up, great contested rebound here against Derek Lively, who'd been rolling at this point. Then he's going to come back down. Lively has him in transition. And again, this is just a spot where Vic is going to feel very comfortable against these bigs, I think, in space. It makes you defensively, I really like the idea of Victor being able to come in and be like this weak side help defender at the 4. But if you play him next to a 5, you don't get these center mismatch opportunities as often necessarily. So it's going to be a give and take. It's going to be a mix of San Antonio trying to figure out, okay, are there moments where we play Vic at the 5 to try and get some scenarios where this happens? Obviously, I don't think is he? Yeah, he's actually in at the 5 on this possession because that's Devin there. Devin, Trey, Jeremy, and Cedi. So yeah, they put him in at the 5 here to get the mismatch. And, it's to me not an accident that he kind of got loose here during these minutes because he got a chance to get real marginal advantages at the 5 for his perimeter skill set. And this is one where, again, goes between his legs. He's very comfortable with the hesitation. Soon as he sees Derek Lively kind of get back on his heel there, right there with that left foot or the right foot, I'm sorry, he's going to rise up and go. That's what he's looking at. Makes it. That gets him to, I believe, 11 points on the day. Next one here, 5 minutes left in the 4th. Vic going to do a good job containing a screen and roll. And this is one where it's just like very clear that Vic's length, it has to be a factor on these closeouts. I love how high he's able to stay essentially in a drop against what he knows in Maxi Kleber is going to be a pick and pop. Like this is still playing relatively high. This isn't quite a drop. This is more of like a catch drop almost. So here Maxi's going to come up, going to set this screen, then just going to filter over that way. Wemby is going to stay like out here instead of dropping back all the way to the foul line, which I like. I like it against guys that can pick and pop. Luka is going to come around. He's going to recognize he has Wembanyama on him, and he's going to hit this little kick out here to Maxi. But again, this is just ground coverage from Victor. Name the game in the NBA on defense right now is ground coverage, being able to close out on shooters, being able to cover ground and help. I mean, look at where he's starting this closeout. He is starting this closeout from right here with his right foot while keeping great position on Luka. I love how Cedi cheats in here, same side, knowing he can get to this closeout after that. And he is all the way here on the court. And he is going to end this run as Maxi releases it right here with his body there. That's a pretty good closeout in all honesty. That's a really tough shot for Maxey. And then on top of it, and this is something I thought JJ Redick did a really good job on the broadcast pointing out. When Vic closes out like this, he's going to get an opportunity to run the floor and create early position and create early opportunities. This results in a big dunk. It's absolutely terrific, terrific stuff here from Vic. This is the kind of stuff where they're going to be able to create easy offense, right? Vic being able to run the floor. This is where he has position. This is where Trey Jones recognizes with anticipation that he's going to be able to throw this ball to Vic, and he's going to be able to out high point or an out leverage Maxey at that point for the easy dunk. Finishes. That's 13 points for Vic. And then this is the last Victor clip, at least. This is coming out of a timeout. I'll run it through once first. Let you guys see. They're going to set a couple of screens for Vic. And Vic is just going to knock down that left elbow jumper. But I love this coming out of a timeout to be able to get Vic just a really sweet little opportunity here. So Vic is going to come up. He's going to set this screen here. You're going to see Keldon now set a screen, and then you're going to see Devin Vassell come around and set a screen as well. And it's basically going to act as like kind of a double screen for Vic to go all the way across and get to that left elbow that Tim Duncan made so special in San Antonio for 15 years. That's just a really hard action to deal with. I think Grant actually did a pretty good job fighting through. I thought Grant Williams was outstanding defensively in this game. He does a pretty good job fighting through all of these actions. I wish Devin Vassell here, maybe stayed attached just a little bit longer. I love him to stay just a little bit longer detail-wise. But regardless, once Vic gets this ball here, the key is getting him the ball here, I think. His release point is so high that there isn't really anything Grant Williams is going to be able to do on this. I mean, this is where Grant's hand is. This is where Vic's hand is. That is at least a foot of separation, if not more. That's a really tough ask for Grant Williams. And Grant Williams, worked hard to try and, inch him out further, to try and get around those screens. There's just some stuff that you can't guard. And, San Antonio fans, I think, will recognize that well, because we got the blurry photo. I think this might be from 2009, something like that. You're going to see here. Tim Duncan's going to come around. He's going to set up his office on that left block. He's going to drill that bank shot that we know and love from so many years. I thought Vic was quite good in this game for somebody who obviously dealt with foul trouble, struggled to really get a rhythm at any point, and he still ended up with 15-4, 2-2, and 1. It's not the best game in the world, but when you also account for the defensive impact, when you also account for everything else that we saw, I think it was a great opening salvo for Vic, a great opening start to his career. You look at other rookies around the league. Brandon Miller had a great little spurt late in his game for the Hornets to really help them get over the hump against Atlanta. Really struggled in the first half. Similarly, Scoot Henderson struggled for the first 3 quarters against the Los Angeles Clippers. Vic, I felt like in his time on the court, looked much more comfortable than every other rookie did that I saw, at least over the course of this first game. I'm not going to pretend to have seen all of them, but you could see the comfort level. You could see the fact that he was just very, very capable in a way that most rookies are not. I'm really excited to see where this goes. Really, really excited for San Antonio Spurs fans that get to watch this guy, hopefully for a decade plus throughout the course of his career. Let me know what you think of the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're still here, thank you. I appreciate it. Next up, I think I'm going to do a Cade Cunningham video. That also might release tonight, or it might release tomorrow. That'll be next up. But until next time, we'll talk soon.